We hope you enjoy Part B of Section 1, the Latin root bell and its related words, general academic vocabulary, rhetorical devices, and psychological terms. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you.
Rebellion. Rebellion. An act of rebellion or open resistance to an established government or ruler. Rebellion. Synonyms: dissent, insurgency, insurrection. Antonyms: submission, obedience, orthodoxy.
Have you read the book or seen the movie The Hunger Games, starring Jennifer Lawrence? The Hunger Games is about rebels rebelling.
The word hunger and the word games create a rhetorical device called oxymoron. An oxymoron occurs when two antithetical, opposite terms or phrases are placed beside one another. Common oxymorons are bittersweet, deafening silence, jumbo shrimp, act naturally, and original copy.
The Hunger Games is set in post-apocalypse, dystopian North America. What caused the apocalypse? Widespread destruction or disaster? Hunger Games author Suzanne Collins leaves this ambiguous, open to interpretation. What is not ambiguous, however, is the bellicosity of the capital, which rules over 12 poverty-stricken districts and, for the district denizens who have the temerity to rebel, relieves them of their tongues. Relieves them of their tongues is a euphemistic way of saying cutting out their tongues. Denizens are people who live in a place but do not have the rights of citizens.
The capital has a sadistic selection process, the reaping. The progeny of each district is summoned to assemble where two names are chosen from a bowl. Before the selection process begins, F.E. Trinket enthusiastically recites the capital's sadistic mantra, "May the odds be ever in your favor." Sadistic means deriving pleasure from inflicting pain, suffering, or humiliation on others. The word reaping has farming and religious connotation, so to call the selection process the reaping is just sick. Mantra is a statement or slogan repeated frequently. Katniss Everdeen is, at various points in the plot, the archetypal girl next door meets the archetypal outsider meets the archetypal reluctant hero meets. However, Katniss has no reluctance, no trepidation to take her sister's place as tribute to represent District 12 in the Hunger Games, a barbaric, televised fight to the death where contestants as young as 12 compete against 18-year-olds. She and Peeta Mellark, the progeny of a breadmaker, journey to the capital to represent District 12. Whereas District 12 is downtrodden and destitute, the capital is a resplendent metropolis. Whereas the District 12 denizens trade their meager belongings for sustenance, the capital urbanites live in opulence and gorge themselves on gourmet. Destitute means without the basic necessities for life. Denizens are inhabitants or occupants of a particular place. Katniss and Peeta have a mentor, Haymitch, who is a progeny of District 12 and a Hunger Games victor. As a mentor to District 12 tributes, Haymitch has seen tribute after District 12 tribute give up the ghost. As a Hunger Games victor, many tributes died from his hand. He drinks to suppress the shadows. Give up the ghost is an idiom that means death. Suppression is an ego defense mechanism when a person consciously pushes unwanted thoughts or impulses out of his or her awareness. Haymitch makes Katniss and Peeta understand the only way to survive the Hunger Games is to make sponsors, wealthy capital citizens, like them, and send them sustenance, food, water, matches, medicine, anything they may need during the games. This rational imperative to make wealthy capital citizens like her and the emotional revulsion at competing in fight to the death games create cognitive dissonance in Katniss and in the audience. The rational imperative pulls Katniss and the audience one way. The emotional revulsion or disgust pulls Katniss and the audience the opposite way. This is cognitive dissonance.
There is nothing like the feeling of a like. We'd really love a subscribe. Thank you.
Let's conquer some sentence completions. When the tributes are chosen and before the games begin, capital dignitaries and leaders mouth the "May the odds be ever in your favor," an ironic good luck wish if ever there were one. A. Mantra. B. Oxymoron. C. Imperative. D. Dictate. Families are torn when tributes, ages 12 to 18, are chosen to compete in the annual Hunger Games. A. Altruism. B. Serendipity. C. Asunder. D. Antithesis. The capital citizens live in, while most district are destitute. A. Progenitors imperatives. B. Opulence denizens. C. Suppression prototypes. D. Serendipity dictates. Katniss volunteers to take her little sister's place in the Hunger Games. A. Resplendently. B. Oxymoronically. C. Antithetically. D. Altruistically. Let's look at rebel as a noun and rebel as a verb. We will also look at the verb rebel in an archaic manner. The rebel Katniss Everdeen rebelled against the Capitol. Let's look at the verb rebelled in an archaic manner. Rebel. As a verb pronounced rebel. Oppose or disobey someone in authority or control, or to resist or rise up against tradition, or disrupt, as in the case of the guy with the distempered stomach. Do you have any foods that rebel or distemper your intestines? Distemper synonyms are affliction and ailment and disease and malady.
Let's review. Without going back or looking at your notes, try to remember the meaning of each of the following words. 1. Ambiguous. 2. Belie. 3. Bellicose. 4. Fanatic. 5. Foreboding. 6. Pestilence. 7. Prototype. 8. Sadistic. 9. Progeny. 10. Progenitor. 11. Sustenance. 12. Temerity. 13. Trepidation. 14. Zealot. 15. Forebodes. 16. Prevaricating. 17. Serendipity. 18. Rebel. 19. Rebels, rebelled. 20. Archetype. 21. Apocalypse. 22. Cognitive dissonance. 23. Give up the ghost. 24. Destitute. 25. Opulence. 26. Benevolent.
Antebellum. Antebellum means occurring or existing before a particular war, especially the American Civil War. Antebellum. Synonyms: pre-Civil War, pre-war, prior to the war. Antonyms: modern, future. Antebellum: occurring or existing before a war, especially the American Civil War. The contractor restored the antebellum house. It cost a fortune to carve columns in such an ornate style. Do you have any antebellum homes in your town or city? The United States are versus the United States is. Before the American Civil War, known as the antebellum period, newspapers would write, "The United States are." After the American Civil War, newspapers began to write, "The United States is."
The shift from referring to the United States as a singular entity, the United States is, rather than a plural one, the United States are, is closely tied to the aftermath of the Civil War. The Union's victory in 1865 reinforced the federal government's claim to sovereign authority over the individual states. This shift in perception was more quickly adopted in the North and spread more slowly in the South. The change in linguistic convention reflects the evolving understanding of the United States as a unified nation rather than a collection of individual states. This transition can be observed in the U.S. congressional speeches and newspaper editorials from the 19th century.
Have you seen the movie Black Panther starring Chadwick Boseman? Black Panther is a movie about Wakanda, an African nation rich in the mineral vibranium and resplendent in lush lands, abundant wildlife, picturesque waterfalls, and technology. Prince T'Challa assumes the throne, and becomes the warrior king archetype, after his progenitor's assassination. Resplendent synonyms include radiant and dazzling. Archetype synonyms include model and pattern and ideal. Progenitor synonyms include forefather and ancestor. Meanwhile, T'Challa's cousin, Killmonger, the shadow archetype, abandoned by Wakanda and left many years ago in America as a young boy, is now fully grown and zealous for revenge. Revenge against the Wakandan royal family that abandoned him and revenge against global governments he deems diabolical. A former U.S. Special Forces soldier and global mercenary, Killmonger brings bellicosity to King T'Challa and civil war to Wakanda. Zealous synonyms include fervid and fiery. Diabolical synonyms include fiendish and infernal. Mercenary means primarily concerned with making money, or a professional soldier hired to serve in a foreign army. Killmonger gains an audience with King T'Challa and the royal families. I'm standing in your house serving justice to a man who stole your vibranium and murdered your people. Justice your king couldn't deliver, Killmonger snarled through gritted teeth. Only reason I don't you where you stand is because I know who you are. Now, what do you want? King T'Challa asks. I want the throne, Killmonger declares. Killmonger's zeal throws Wakanda into civil war. Zeal synonyms include avidity and ardor and passion. Wakanda before the Civil War might be denotatively referred to as Wakanda's antebellum period. I emphasize the word denotatively to emphasize the word antebellum will, for most people, conjure or connote images of the American South before the Civil War.
Let's tackle some sentence completions. As a mercenary for hire who specialized in malevolence to get to the Wakandan throne, Killmonger, the shadow archetype, is the of King T'Challa, a benevolent, altruistic king. A. Oxymoron. B. Antithesis. C. Revulsion. D. Semblance. B. Antithesis is the answer. Antithesis is a person or thing that is the direct opposite or converse or inverse. Killmonger is driven by two: revenge and power. A. Imperatives. B. Mantras. C. Revulsions. D. Prototypes. A. Imperatives is the correct answer. Imperative means of vital importance or crucial or requirement. Whereas King T'Challa has a spirit of altruism, Killmonger's heart is of any benevolence. A. Serendipitous. B. Resplendent. C. Replete. D. Destitute. D. Destitute is correct. Destitute means devoid, empty, lacking, impecunious.
Activity time. Let's bring it all together.
Please use the vocabulary below to complete an activity. 1 to 5. 1. Summarize a movie or television show. 2. Use an existing movie or television show to create an original episode. 3. Write a next scene, a sequel, or a before scene, a prequel, to a movie or television show. 4. Create an original story. 5. Summarize a short story, a play, an essay, poem, song, or historical period. If you like what you've learned, how about a like and a subscribe? Thank you.